Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Ilona Vitolina, and I represent University of Latvia, Faculty of Business Economics and Management. And my topic for today is emotional intelligence. So I will start uh, screen sharing, and then you'll see my slides for today. So our topic is emotional intelligence. And maybe, yes, in the introduction, I will briefly tell you about myself, about my experience. So currently, I am associated professor at the University of Latvia, and I work there since 2005. But also in parallel to that, I'm actively involved in business consulting, and I work in chief executive search company Amrop. So this topic of emotional intelligence is very interesting for me, both from academic perspective and from business perspective, because in my everyday work, I interview executives and I can evaluate their skills, and among their skills, emotional intelligence really plays a crucial role. So our aim for today is to look at emotional intelligence concepts from both theoretical and practical perspectives. And I'm also planning to give you some tasks online. So I would appreciate, and it would be also very useful for you to have a white sheet of paper in front of you, because we will have some workshops, even though in this format. And of course, if you have whatever questions to me, you can write them in chat and I will try to answer them. Okay, so let's start. I wanted to start with this quote from Theodore Roosevelt, which says that no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. I really like this quote because I would say that our current environment really evaluates logic and smartness very much, but not thinking that much about emotions or feelings. And concept of emotional intelligence, which started to be used in academic and business sphere, I would say, starting from 1980s, maybe a little bit before, although the term was coined there, but the importance of feelings and emotions was understood by world leaders, businessmen, teachers, and successful people also very much before the actual term started to be used in academics, for example. Thus, another quote to start is from Maya Angelou, and which is, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forge how you made them feel. And although, as I said, this the role of emotional intelligence was actual for a long time already, I would argue that especially nowadays, with very rapidly changing environment, with high levels of uncertainty, which enables a lot of stress, a lot of multitasking for people, I would say that this concept of emotional intelligence and how to manage and cope with your own feelings becomes even more important. So we don't know what tomorrow will bring us, and now we are living in this COVID era, and there are a lot of discussions what will happen afterwards. But no one knows. No one knows what will be there. No one knows what new technological advancements will be in place in future. But what we know for sure is that the speed and the pace of development will continue to increase. So, and we cannot really change it. So the only thing that we can do is to adapt ourselves and to develop our own strategies how to cope with it. And of course, so we all know that currently different kind of mental disorders, mental problems like depression, burnout, stress is like a norm of everyday life, which should not be so, but which means that indeed we have huge overload of information from the external environment. And in this context, I would say emotional intelligence is gaining its importance as never before. And I would not now, I will not give you more data of why emotional intelligence is important, because I think it has been already proved that people who possess high emotional intelligence, that they are more successful as managers, as leaders, they have higher salaries. And emotional intelligence also matters in personal realms as well. So there has been a lot of studies that people with high emotional intelligence have happier personal lives, they have less divorces in society, etc., etc. So our aim for today is more to look at the concept from academic perspective, and then also I would like to provide you some practical tools which you could use to raise your level of your emotional intelligence. But one thing to start with in explaining this term is to help you understand why feelings matter so much. And this is a simplified picture of our brain, and it is now well known that in fact we have different layers of the brain, starting with the most ancient one, which is reptilian brain, which is responsible for different impulses and which is similar as reptilians have. Then the next layer of the brain is middle brain, which is responsible for our emotions. And then only the outer layer of the brain is so-called new brain, which is responsible for logical thinking. So our brain operates in all of these three layers. And very often, in fact, our feelings and emotions can be harmful to logical thinking and rational thinking. And here is some explanations why it is happening. And there is such term as amygdala hijack. Amygdala is small cluster of neurons in the brain, and it is responsible for provision of our emotions. So in a low emotional state, we have this brain higher cortex is working accordingly, so we can make rational thinking. But when emotions rise high, and this is in situations when we became angry, or when we are feared from something, or we are very excited, or we feel love, which is also very high emotion, then it inhibits our higher cortex from logical thinking, and it blocks our ability to think logically, to think rationally. That's why if you are angry or disturbed, and if you feel high emotions, it is not suggested to make any decisions. You should wait a bit until those emotions are getting low. And this is a function of our brains, which we have inherited from our ancestors. And it was very relevant centuries or even thousands of years before, when indeed there was a lot of danger out there in the environment. So this function was very important. When we encounter any triggers in the environment, we have this amygdala hijack, and then we just have two reactions or three reactions, let's say, either freeze or run or fight back. And then we have more adrenaline, we can run faster, but it was not meant to be to think. And in our current environment, really logical thinking is much more important, and we don't have such a threatening situations in our everyday life anymore. And so emotions are very much responsible of our behavior and of our motivation and many other important functions. Going to the definition of terms, what is emotional intelligence? So in fact, it is ability or competence in managing one's own feelings and recognizing and dealing effectively with other people's feelings. So this is a brief definition of the term. There are also some myths about emotional intelligence, because sometimes people think that emotional intelligence, it's about being nice and polite and always smiling, but it's not really about that. So it is important to understand that emotional intelligence has several components, and we will talk about them in a moment. And those components are, on the one hand, they are independent, but on the other hand, they are also interdependent. Yeah? So they have both of those qualities. They are also hierarchical. So it is important that you master the basics until you have the higher levels of emotional intelligence. And we will talk about it in a moment. And it is not about being joyful all the time or having only positive feelings, but it is about recognizing your feelings, managing them, using them as a guidance, using them as a source to have motivation and energy for everyday life, and also managing other people's feelings, recognizing other people's feelings and managing them as well. So the components of emotional intelligence, or so-called capacities of emotional intelligence, are, as I already explained, so they are independent, interdependent, hierarchical. They also are necessary but not sufficient, which means that yes, it is very beneficial to have high emotional intelligence, but if you are only emotionally intelligent but with, let's say, very low level of cognitive capacity, of course it is not sufficient. Yeah, but those emotional intelligence capacities are important indeed. And they are generic. This means that those domain of emotional intelligence help to build successful career in very different domains or in very different fields. So if you master emotional intelligence, then you can be pretty sure that you can survive in different and changing environments. A lot of research shows that success in life and successful career at the end of the day comprises, or let's say, IQ or cognitive capacity contributes only to 20% of success in people's lives, and emotional intelligence, in fact, accounts for 80% of success. So this is indeed very, very important capacity. So now we will move to emotional intelligence competence framework. And this is taken from Daniel Goleman works. And here are used some of his books like Emotional Intelligence, Working with Emotional Intelligence, and Social Intelligence. And also at the end of today's lecture, I will provide you with some longer list of suggested literature if you are interested in the topic, and with some more recent sources of literature for this topic. So emotional intelligence, according to Daniel Goleman, has 5 main blocks. And as I said before, those blocks are hierarchical. So it is important that you master self-awareness. I would say the self-awareness is really the building block and the most important block of emotional intelligence, and without it you cannot move to those higher levels. Yeah? So the first one is self-awareness, then there is self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Social skills are already like quite practical skills which are very highly evaluated in everyday working life. But I would argue that you cannot possess high social skills without really mastering self-awareness. Yeah? So we will go through each of this component. Then I will have some tests for you to do, and then we will also talk about some tools how to develop emotional intelligence competencies for yourself. So self-awareness, I really would argue that self-awareness is the most important block of emotional intelligence. And it has such components as emotional awareness, which is recognizing one's emotions and their effects. The next component of self-awareness is accurate self-assessment, or knowing one's strengths and limits. And the last one is self-confidence, or a strong sense of one's self-worth and capabilities. So these are three really important things in building higher emotional intelligence as such. So one thing is how to recognize your emotions when some small feelings start to rise in your body. This is really important. And then accurate self-assessment, which also is the next step, which is not always practiced by people. So very often also in the job interviews, I see that people have not thought over much about their own strengths and weaknesses. So this is also a very important block, that you have to have right understanding of your personality, of your identity, I would say. And the last one, self-confidence. And self-confidence, in fact, some other authors or some other psychologists make it as a very independent block, which also is based, in fact, on self-awareness. Yeah. But here Daniel Goleman uses this self-confidence as a part of self-awareness. But anyways, self-confidence is a strong sense of one's self-worth and capabilities. And without those three components, again, I would say that you are not able to master high social skills. So it is not possible to be a good leader, or to be a good, let's say, conflict resolver or change manager if you don't possess those skills of self-awareness. And so what are some practical tools how to raise self-awareness? And those tools are depicted in different courses of personal development, and there is also quite a rich literature and also rich body of research which shows that indeed these tools contribute to higher self-awareness, which again raises your level of emotions and success in life at the end of the day. So first of all, it's meditation. Of course, it's quite also modern nowadays, but for example, Daniel Goleman, which is well-known academic in the field of emotional intelligence, in the beginning of his academic career, he really studied a lot meditation and the impact of meditation on self-awareness and on better emotional intelligence. Why it helps and how it works, because now there are more and more like scientific studies on let's say, yogis and Tibet monks who are doing it. But the main thing is that it helps to focus, because what also I have noticed in my own life and also in interviewing people who have really high stress works who are working as executives, is that nowadays, with all multitasking and a lot of stress, very often the tasks that we have to do, in fact, are not that complicated, but the most complicated thing is how to handle the stress. And handling stress, in fact, means that you are able to focus on what you need to do, and that you are not distracted by different triggers which are there in environment. And very more and more, I would say this is a big problem, especially for children and youngsters, because we have so much opportunities how to where to put our attention, and where our attention goes, our focus goes, and that's why meditation, in fact, helps to raise our awareness, and it trains our ability to focus and to make our mind more strong without wandering around. Because very often when we, for example, when we had some stressful day at work, we go home and we kind of try to not to think about our problems, but our mind think about some problems. Those problems might be objective or subjective, but it is very often hard not to think about some things. So meditation as a tool really helps to focus the mind on something, whatever. So it is important that the mind is not wandering around. Meditation is one tool. Another tool which helps to raise self-awareness is diary writing. And it is also important to understand that, let's say, 100 years ago, for example, all noble people, they were writing their diaries. Yeah. Again, nowadays we are more typewriting, and we are not handwriting that much anymore. But it has been, again, scientifically proven that reflecting on your day, trying to write down your emotions, your feelings, really helps also to deal with those feelings. It helps to understand why you are feeling that way, or what environmental triggers raised your anxiety, for example, or fear, or what situation or what circumstances have provoked some kind of emotions. And without reflecting, you cannot change your reaction. So there was Harvard recent article in Harvard Business Review which showed that successful CEOs usually reflect on their mistakes. So they try to write them down. They also write diaries, and they, in this way, they learn from their mistakes, which makes them even more skillful, even more stress resistant, and at the end of the day, more successful. Because indeed, what I see in my everyday life as in chief executive search, I see that good executives are not much smarter than average persons, but they really have very high stress resistance. And many people are not promoted to the highest levels in their career, not because they lack some skills, but because they are not capable to take the stress. Yeah, and this is also high emotional intelligence helps in handling everyday situations, and also some crisis situations as well. Another thing which really helps to raise self-awareness is understanding your values. This is also the thing that we are not doing very often, usually in our everyday life, but it helps in decision making, because sometimes when you have hard decisions to make, it really helps to understand, okay, what are your values? What are really important for you in your life? So it really pays off to take some time to make this inventory of values, so to say. Is it courage? Is it maybe material things, or is it happiness of your family? What is really important for you in your life? And this also reduces stress, and it raises self-awareness. So when you start to understand yourself better, you, at the end of the day, you also can cope with different situations much better. Another thing is could be, in fact, preparing for a job interview. So introducing your strengths and weaknesses, thinking about what are your professional and also personal strengths. And again, it pays off to take some time and do this exercise, really trying to define who you are and what are your main strengths. One more technique which I find very useful and which comes from psychological advice and psychological perspective is the so-called open-end question technique. And this can help in raising not only self-awareness, but whatever other qualities which you would like to introduce for yourself. And this is answering open-end questions. So, and it is important that you do it by writing. In my opinion, handwriting is better than typewriting, but it might be, of course, also the matter of preference. So when you answer the question, self-awareness for me means, and you provide 5 different endings to this question. And you don't spend too much time on thinking. It is more like a brainstorm, and you write down. So just everything which pops up into your mind. And then you can answer a question that if I would like to be 5% more self-aware today, I would. And again, you provide 5 fast answers. Or if I would like to be more self-aware at work, I would, and you write down your answers. And it is suggested to do this for about a week, or let's say working week. So you write it down 5 days without thinking much. Maybe some things will be the same, some things will come up, new thoughts will come up. And then at the end of the week, you could revise it and then again write down that if anything of what I was writing there is right, then I should do, and then you make like a to-do list. And this technique I have tried myself, and I really found it really very helpful in different aspects of personal development. Okay. So the next big block of emotional intelligence is self-regulation, yeah, and self-control, in fact, is a part of self-regulation, yeah. So self-regulation consists of self-control, which is keeping destructive emotions and impulses in check, trustworthiness, or maintaining standards of honesty and integrity, conscientiousness, I never can pronounce this word, which is taking responsibility for personal performance, and this is a trait from big 5 individual traits, and this trait really has high correlation with success in life. Yeah, so that you are not late for meetings, you keep your promises. So this is of course very important for whatever professional advancement. Adaptability or flexibility in handling change. Opposite to adaptability is rigidity. And again, I would say from my personal experience that rigidity in thoughts and actions very often is a source of professional failure, because we really have to adapt to change a lot currently nowadays. And it is not possible anymore to have one profession for the whole life. At least I think it is not possible anymore. And of course, each change is stressful. And some personalities which are more rigid and very resistant to change usually find themselves in not very favorable situations. So adaptability or flexibility in handling change is a very important component of emotional intelligence. And the last one here is innovation, which is in fact quite similar to adaptability, yeah, but with some nuance, but which is being comfortable with novel ideas, approaches, and new information. So these are components of self-regulation competence. The next block of emotional intelligence is motivation. And motivation consists of such components as achievement to drive or striving to improve or meet a standard of excellence, commitment or aligning with the goals of the group or organization, and initiative or readiness to act on opportunities. And of course, I think you all have heard that, of course, employers usually want to have highly motivated employees, but this is not a very often case in current workforce, that you have people with high motivation. And of course, you can have some extrinsic motivational factors, so you can raise salary, and then maybe person could be motivated for a moment, but of course, again, it is proven that intrinsic motivation is much more important. And the main motivator, in fact, comes from within. So it is important that you understand what is your purpose, what are your goals, and here again also those emotions play a big role, how to keep this motivation. But on the other hand, also motivation is one of those blocks of emotional intelligence, because very often what I also see maybe in students and young people, that they get motivated quite fast, but then they get bored. And in everything what you do, you really need to spend some time in whatever profession or in whatever action that you do. And at the beginning, it's very interesting and excited, but after some time, you have to do the work, and it may get boring. It is routine maybe, and it might be not that exciting. And then ability to motivate yourself, maybe to see the bigger goal out of it, or to find the ways how you can learn something new in what you do, is really important. And this is also a competence of people with high emotional intelligence. And here I would like to introduce such concept by Carol Dweck, which is fixed mindset versus growth mindset. And this concept also, of course, is used quite a lot in both academic and business settings. So Carol has divided, let's say, people in two categories, and she said that one part of people have so-called fixed mindset, or believes that cognitive abilities are static and that you cannot do much with what you have. And such people usually try to avoid challenges. They give up quite fast when they are confronted by challenging situations. But again, to achieve anything in life, you need to deal with challenging situations, because you cannot go through life without challenges, because you cannot grow otherwise. Another features of this fixed mindset is that such people usually avoid effort, as they think it is useless. They do not take any critique, and they feel threatened by other people's success. Yeah, so this is the features of fixed mindset, let's say, group of people. And then we have this so-called growth mindset, which is belief that in fact cognitive abilities can be developed. And again, modern neuropsychology has shown that yes, brain changes itself, and we can learn new things not only in childhood but also later. Of course, with age, it gets a bit more complicated. It might ask for more effort, but it is still possible to do. And in fact, we raise our cognitive abilities with each new skill that we are acquiring with each lecture or with each class that we take. So growth mindset people, they usually like challenges. They keep doing despite of failures in challenging situations. They see effort as a way to success. They learn from constructive criticisms, and they are inspired by other people's success. Yeah, so this also, of course, has a connection to emotional intelligence and to motivation as such. Okay, so the next big block of emotional intelligence is empathy. And sometimes empathy is mistaken as a whole emotional intelligence, but it is just one part or one block of it. So empathy is ability to understand others, to sense their feelings and perspectives, and taking active interest in their concerns. It is ability to develop others or to sense their development needs and bolstering their abilities. It is also service orientation from, let's say, business development perspective. So it is anticipating, recognizing, meeting customers' needs. It is leveraging diversity or cultivating opportunities through different kinds of people. And it is political awareness or reading a group's emotional currents and power relationships. And here I would like to give you some tests on recognizing other people's emotions. Yeah, so here I would like you to guess emotions, yes, in a moment. This is based on Paul Ekman. You might have heard about him. He is well-known professor in the field of micro expressions, and in fact, well-known series of Lie to Me were built based on his scenario or based on let's say his some life experiences. And Paul Ekman's methodology is now widely used in different FBI and different trainings for policemen or for different military service or for tracking like terrorism threats in airports, etc., etc. So Paul Ekman, in fact, he devoted all of his life to studying emotions, and he has proved that we have some basic emotions all human beings have, which are universal for every race. And those emotions, when they appear in our brain, they are showed up on our face. So we cannot really hide them. Even if we are like poker face type of person, we have like a millisecond when those emotions appear on our face. And those emotions that he distinguished, again, there is some maybe other academic research which shows that there might be a bit more emotions or less, but based on Paul Ekman, those are 7 basic emotions that are showed on our facial expressions. Those are anger, disgust, contempt, surprise, fear, happiness, and sadness. And here I would encourage you to write down those basic emotions now, and we will have a test. So I will show you pictures of people from different races, from different ages, when they have some emotion on their face, but it will be only for a millisecond. It will be very fast, and you will have to distinguish what emotions do you see there. And then we will discuss it. Okay, so hope you're ready, and I will start sharing another another presentation with you now. Yes. Okay, so that's the test. So let's start. It will be very fast, yeah, and you will have to guess the emotion. That was the first emotion. You should write down what it was. Hope you do it, although I cannot see you. Or do I share it now? Am I sharing it? I think I'm not. I think I'm not sharing now. I'm sorry. I think I didn't started to share. So, yes, just a moment. Share screen. Yes, so now we start. Yes, now you can see it, I know. Okay, so we start now. Sorry for this. So that's the first expression. You should write down what was it from those 7 basic emotions, which were anger, disgust, contempt, surprise, fear, happiness, or sadness. And then we go further. So what was that? That was the next. Time to write. So the next. Okay, the next. What was it? What it looked like? Next. What was it? Next. What was it? Next. What was it? So again, we had anger, disgust, contempt, surprise, fear, happiness, and sadness. The next. What was it? I think that was it. Now, one more. Okay. Next. What was it? Next. Okay. So this was it. So let's go through it and talk about the clue. Yes, I'm thinking how to do it now better. Okay, or because I don't see your expressions now, maybe let's go through the clues like that. So emotions of sadness are can be distinguished when you see the dropping upper eyelids, when there is losing focus in eyes, and when there is slight pulling down of lip corners. This is how we can recognize sadness. Yeah. The next one, the fear emotions, I think are quite easily recognizable. So those are when eyebrows are raised and pulled together, when upper eyelids are really round, and when we have tensed lower eyelids, and when lips are slightly stretched and horizontally back to ears. So this is also another example of expression of fear. Yeah, so we have eyebrows which are pulled up. We have eyelids which rise slightly, and we have those lip corners pulled sideways. And if we have this emotion in our body, then it is showed on our face for at least for a millisecond. Yeah? So it is not possible to really hide it. Happiness, on the other hand, is that, in fact, it is a bit simple to, a bit similar to sadness, but that lip corners are pulled up, and eyes are, muscles are tightened around eyes. Yes, so this is the emotion of happiness. Anger, on the other hand, is when the eyebrows are down and together, when eyes glare and the lips are narrowed. Here is another example of the expression of anger. And this is surprise. So eyebrows and upper eyelids rise, and mouth is opened. Contempt is maybe a bit complicated emotion, or the word might be not used as often. So contempt is when you look down on somebody derisively or suspiciously. So this expression sometimes is confused with disgust. Yeah, but disgust involves the raising of the upper lip and the bridge of the nose wrinkles. Disgust usually is about some noxious things, but contempt is usually about some human beings or human interactions. So this is this emotion. And this is, yes, how emotion of contempt looks like. And this is disgust. Yeah, and here you can see those emotional expressions in one place. So hope this was somewhat useful. So I'll start sharing my first presentation again. Share screen. So we are here, and we go back where I stopped. So this was about micro expressions. So if you will have some questions at the end, feel free to ask. So the next and the last big block of emotional intelligence is social skills. And again, as I already said, as those emotional intelligence competences are hierarchical, so social skills are not possible without very strong self-awareness, strong self-control, self-motivation, and empathy. Those are the building blocks of the social skills. And conceptualization of social skills is that social skills are influence, which is wielding effective tactics for persuasion, communication, or listening openly and sending convincing messages. It is conflict management, or negotiating and resolving disagreements. It is leadership, or inspiring and guiding individuals and groups. It is catalyst of change or initiation and management of change. And collaboration and cooperation, or working with others towards shared goals. And of course, all of those competences are really very valuable for managers or executives. But again, I would argue that it is not possible to have them without strong base of self-awareness. And that's why we might have a lot of less successful managers or leaders, or I can even say a lot of shitty leaders around, because they are not able to master some other components of emotional intelligence. Okay, so this was it on blocks or components of emotional intelligence. And what is important, yes, to understand that emotional intelligence, in fact, it is not the opposite of intelligence, but it is not the triumph of heart over head, but it's a unique intersection of both. Yeah. And now, in the last part of this lecture or workshop, how you can call it, let's talk a bit again about some more practical tools to raise emotional intelligence, and to work on it, or with what tools we can help to have higher level of emotional intelligence. And there are some practical things that we all can do. One of the problems that both employees and executives and managers face during their career is inability to motivate themselves. And motivation, as you saw, was one of the building blocks of emotional intelligence as well. And of course, indeed, sometimes it's very hard to have this high level of energy or motivation on your work. So what is suggested from different domains of positive psychology is really to understand how your job is contributing to the bigger goal or bigger aim. And I guess there is also this saying also in Russian language, or the story when two people are moving stones, and one is doing it very happily and another one is very unhappy and tired. And when you ask what they are doing, so the one who is very tired and unhappy says, well, you know, I'm just carrying stones and I hate it. And of course it's hard, so I'm not very motivated to do it. And another one who is really happy about doing it, when he was asked what you are doing, he said that, well, I'm building a church. So of course it's a very noble thing to do. So I'm happy to do that and I'm motivated. So it's really important to understand how your task, whatever you do in your work, how it contributes to the bigger goal. And again, it's, I think, very, very important task of managers to provide this understanding to their employees. There are more and more people who are unhappy with their careers, unhappy with their lives, and often this is called like middle-age crisis. But very often the reason is that we don't see any meaning in what we do. Okay, we get some salary for it. It can be motivating for a moment, especially in societies which get more and more economically sustainable or more affluent. This is the bigger question for people, because usually people they see purpose in things if you are helping others to, let's say, to diminish suffering or to increase pleasure. So such professions are considered as calling. So it's not only career, but calling for some people. And of course, if it is hard for you to see the meaning in your work, then you should try either to change it or to see how this small task is contributing to the bigger purpose. Because more and more, I would say, scientists realize that what we do, and it might be, it is not all not obligatory some paid job. It may be also home tasks, or if you are not working housewife, or if you are doing some voluntary work, it doesn't matter. But it is very important for people to see the purpose in their lives. And if you don't have it, that might be very dangerous at some point, with like losing the sense of life. Another important thing to think about and do is to have control over your sphere of competence, because very often the feeling of being helpless is very, very disturbative, and it is very bad for well-being. And again, nowadays in big organizations, people sometimes have feeling that they don't have any control on what is happening with them. And that's why very often people who are doing some freelance jobs or who don't have any superiors, they are happier at the end of the day, because they know that what they do, they have control themselves. So they are mastering their own fate. But if you are reliant on others, it might be psychologically very difficult. So what is suggested here, that you should find at least, again, at the beginning, maybe small spots, but over which you have a control. And that's why this is very bad for psychological health. If you, for example, if you have a messy desk or messy cupboard or messy room, it is not bad per se to be messy, but when you cannot find things, you feel less control over your life. And these small things at the end of the day may have a lot of, can cause a lot of stress. And on the other hand, very often people tend to worry about things they really cannot affect. And so it is really important also psychologically to divide things into groups, some things that you can affect and then work on them, and things that are not in your sphere of competence. So here some tasks may help, but I guess we don't have that much time anymore. I'm also getting tired. I feel that I cannot talk fluent English anymore. So I'll just show you the task, and you might do it later at home, and then we proceed slowly to the end of our lecture. So the task would be to think about the last situation that caused you stress reaction, to take a sheet of paper and divide it into parts, and on the left side to write down all things that create you stress but that you are not able to change. And on the right side to write, sorry, there is misspelling. So on the right side to write all things that you can change about the situation. So this task usually really helps to structure your brain in a way that you start really to think about useful things that you can do, and to try to let go things which are not in your competence. What else? What other tasks can help to raise emotional intelligence and to worry less? Is indeed starting with small things, because very often, again, we become demotivated when we see the whole amount of work and we see that, oh, no way, we cannot do it, it's just too huge, and that really demotivates us. So it's really important to start with small things. So it's not about writing the book, but just starting with one page. And once you start, it gets easier. So I would say also from my own experience that in whatever I do, and when it's like some bigger tasks, the most complicated thing is to start. And once you start, it already goes. Yeah, so just start with something. Start to write at least one sentence in your thesis or whatever, so it will help. If you have a mess on your desk, so again, it might be too big. Also in my cupboard, sometimes the mess is too big. So then I say, okay, I will just today start with a small part of it. I will just start with cleaning up this surface. I don't have to do the whole thing, because if I start to think that I have to do the whole thing, I'm starting to think, okay, I don't have time for this, so I better don't start. So I better do something else. Yeah, but starting with small things really can motivate you. So here is this concept of Kaizen, which is Japanese term of gradual improvement. So small improvements. Very often we want the change very often, very fast. We want to do big things and we know that we cannot do it, and then we better do nothing. But we do not estimate accordingly that in fact, if we do small steps each day, then the results can be really big. Okay, so some practical suggestions to rise positive emotions. Some of them I already talked about at the very beginning, but there are again some proven small steps practices which really help to have a higher mood. So if you feel that your emotions are getting low, that you feel sad or frustrated, there are some practical things which are proven scientifically which help. Okay, so first of all, and this is really easy and kind of self-evident, but still many people are not doing it, but walks outside. Yeah, again, it is proven that walking through parks, going outside to the wood or forest, it somehow activates our brain for relaxation. And especially when we work in offices, when we have a lot of multitasking, when we have a lot of information, a lot of digital tasks which drains our brain, then walking outside, going to the nature really helps. Meditation, again here, but we already discussed. Anticipation of the positive future event. In pre-COVID era, it was anticipation maybe of some holiday trip. Now it is less possible, but still we all have some positive future events. And when we think about it, our brain becomes more happy, let's say. Yeah, so from time to time, anticipate something good which is already planned, maybe in a couple of weeks, but thinking about it makes our emotion rise. Thought over good deeds. What does it mean? It means that doing good also keeps an in good mood, and it gives a very good feeling when you help people out. And when you do it like really regularly and with a purpose, it lifts positive emotions. So again, this is a proven thing. Shorten time in front of TV. This is also a suggestion because usually we think that we relax in front of TV, but in fact, our brain keeps working and it does not have the relaxation that it needs to. Physical exercise for sure releases a lot of stress and bad hormones. Spending money on experience and presents to others. Again, there were a lot of experiments when people measured the feelings and emotion of people when they shop. And shopping, of course, may raise positive emotions, especially for women. But what was found that when you spend money on experience, whatever it is, either it is a trip or some going somewhere, learning something, yeah, so whatever, which gives you new experiences, and when you spend money on presents to others, it rises your mood for a substantial period of time. And the last one here is to develop so-called signature strengths. So it means all of us are good in some things, and we are very different. And for some people, they like maybe crafting something with hands. Some people like planting. And this usually also, if you like planting or if you like doing gardening, it brings good emotions. For me, I know that reading and studying is the thing which brings my mood up. If I have some days when I don't have time to read, I feel less. Other people like to sing or dance or whatever those things are for you. Just try to do them regularly because they will raise your emotional level. And the last one, again, we are short of time for it, but this is very, very important. And I would recommend that you end each day with small gratitude exercise. So you think about 3 things during the day which you are thankful for. It might be whatever, it might be very small things, it might be gratitude to your relatives or friends, or really small things that made you happier. And again, this feeling of gratitude activates positive emotions in our brain, which on the other hand helps in other cognitive functions and behaviors. But this could be the exercise if we would have more time. So I would ask you to write a thank you letter, some 15 up to 20 sentences to a friend, colleague, family member, or a pet, to say in words why and for what you are thankful and why your relationships are so important for you. Because again, in our day rush, we usually forget to thank people who are very important for us. And when we do that, we are not only doing good for those people, because it's very, very nice to hear thank you, but we do something very important for ourselves. And again, it activates our brain in a very, very positive manner. Okay, so this was basically it. Here is some suggested literature on the topic. So one book or one author that I mentioned is Daniel Goleman. He's really like a master and well known in the field already, but some maybe a bit newer works are from David Caruso, which is a Leader's Guide to Solving Challenges with Emotional Intelligence. And other good works can be found by Mark Brackett. He also has different YouTube talks on it, and it is Permission to Feel. And then my latest founding was Brené Brown, and she has also different books. She's an academic who studies emotions of shame, guilt, and she also has written a lot of like popular books, and she also has a lot of let's say talks and different materials which I would recommend you if you are interested in the topic. Okay, but now also I feel I'm a bit tired. So the question is, what did we learn today, if any? And so it's time for some questions, if any. Do we have? What do we need to start raising emotional intelligence? Yeah, a lot of tools I provided, but really like a building block, I would say, really start with self-awareness. Try to write down, try to think who are you? What is your identity? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? What you like in life? What you don't? Because this is a part that is usually missing in our day, in everyday rush, but which is really very important to think about your values, to make like inventory of yourself. What is it? What you like? What you fear? What are your fears? What are your dreams? What you really would like to do in life? Maybe it's not possible currently, but at least starting to understand yourself. Yeah. And then this is the starting point, and then I hope there are some other tools that we discussed today. Yeah, it's very okay. The line between self-control and tightness. It's a bit complicated to understand what you mean by it when it is written. What do you mean by? Can you explain what do you mean by tightness? Maybe even in Russian. I can understand Russian very good. So I just I don't get it. Ah, I see. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the difference is big. So self-control is again, and it stands from self-awareness, that you understand your feelings. That this is a good question because it also leads to this at the beginning. As I said, there are some misconceptions about emotional intelligence, and some people understand emotional intelligence in a way that they really have to control their emotions, that they cannot show those emotions. So I guess this is what this напряженность is about. So you are very tight and you should not show your emotions, but this is not the case. And maybe if you're interested, then I would highly recommend you this book from Mark Brackett, Permission to Feel. So it is not about like controlling yourself, that you are not doing something stupid, but just understanding how your emotions can be understood, how can they harm your rationality. So it is, if we go back to definition of the self-control, so it is that you understand that you might have negative emotions, and it is also important to understand that it is not bad, but you acknowledge it. Yes, I'm very angry now. I'm usually at home. I have 3 kids, and I'm very often, I think nothing else can make me so angry as my kids. No situations at work, nothing else, but they can really make me angry. And I'm not that good in self-control always, but at least I try to start that I acknowledge, okay, now I'm really angry, and then start to think, okay, why I'm angry? They are just kids, okay, they can shout, but it's my reaction on it. So I can also shout with them, but I can try to calm down. So this is about it, that you acknowledge it and you don't judge yourself. This is very important, that very often we start to judge ourselves, that, oh, I'm a bad person, bad mother, whatever, bad employee, so I should not feel it. But this is a very wrong way, because emotions, they are just there, they're coming and going, and we are human beings, and it's normal to feel emotions. You should not be shameful about them, but you should acknowledge them, and you should say, yes, sometimes, in my example, sometimes I hate my kids, and it might be bad, but it's not bad, it's not good, it's just how it is, and I accept it. And starting with accepting it, you start to control it. But if you are like tightened, as you say, then you are not allowing those emotions. Yeah, so I would say that the difference is that you acknowledge emotions, that you allow them, and then you try to manage them. I don't know if I answered. Yeah, whoa, so good questions you have. I really regret that I cannot see you. In fact, when we had this list from Paul Ekman, this is quite striking, that there are only one really like positive emotion. So out of those 7 basic emotions, there is only happiness, and then there is anger, disgust, contempt, surprises, maybe nor bad, not good, it's just surprise. Yeah, but so we have anger, disgust, contempt, fear, and sadness, which are, so to say, negative emotions. So I would say that we are wired by our neurology, like by evolution, to survival, and maybe that's why we have, in fact, more capability to feel those bad emotions as drivers for behavior. But nowadays the situation has changed dramatically, and if we compare our life with life even of our grandparents, then I would say that we in the modern world live in a very, very good situation. So there is no necessity for fear that much. There is no necessity for anger that much as it maybe was before. But we are still somehow wired to feel it. So answering on the question which prevails in everyday life, I would say that this is our choice what to feel, that we can control our emotions. And there are some people who are naturally born optimists. And this is again the neural wiring of our brain, so some biochemistry. So there are some really naturally born optimists. You for sure, all of you know them. But for normal or average people, yeah, I would say that all the things in our society, they are like separated according to the bell curve, yeah, or the statistical curve. So we have some, let's say, 20, 18, 15% of people who are very capable of something, whatever, and then we have this average 60% who are on average, yeah. So average person, I would say, is more inclined to more negative feelings, and that's why it's even more important to control them, because we have everything in our life. I think there are more positive things in environment, but you can see both of them, and it is really our choice on which to concentrate. So I know some people who, for example, tell about their everyday encounters in work, and they say, this is bad, and this is shitty, and it's also bad, and the organization is so bad. And I say, well, yes, maybe it is so, but you always can concentrate on some positive things. So it's also the matter of choice. It's the matter of really putting emphasis on important things, and important things that you are healthy, you are alive, you are capable to do good things. But of course, there are a lot of idiots outside. There are a lot of crash and trap in society, but it is just on which you put your attention at. And I'm pretty sure that, again, in comparison with 50, 60 years before, we live in a very good life. We don't starve. I would say majority of us, we have things to wear on. We have a lot of opportunities for self-development. There are so many lectures in YouTube. You can visit all museums online, yeah. But it's a matter, either you appreciate it or you look that, but it can be better. But you know, maybe there in Germany or some ways they live better and they have bigger car, yeah. So again, it's your choice on with which to compare. And in my opinion, no one will get better if you will be jealous or thinking how it should be better instead of appreciating what you have. And I don't say that you don't have to strive for bigger things. I think we all have to strive for bigger aims, and it's good to have comfortable life, and it's good to have big money, but you should concentrate on it without negative emotions, kind of, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, so our time is over. A lot of questions. Thanks a lot for your questions. I hope you enjoyed it. And yes, so if you would have some more questions, you could contact Ekaterina, and then you could send me some email or something. So it was a pleasure to be with you without seeing